This is the second video looking at this essay question, which is about whether the government, if they're providing goods and services in an economy, can be productively, allocatively and dynamically efficient when they're doing that. And it's asking to what extent do you agree with this view that they can be efficient in providing goods and services. We've looked at productive efficiency in the last video. We've started looking at allocative efficiency in the last video. I'm just going to return to allocative efficiency to evaluate this. Allocative efficiency means consumer satisfaction is being maximised. It's at this point here where price equals marginal cost. And you can argue that the government will have the people's best interests at heart in the country, and that they will be producing more at a higher level of output here than you would have under a profit maximising situation where you had firms providing the products within a country. However, the thing to ask here is, so in evaluation, where does price equal marginal cost? That's the first thing. They have to be able to work that out. If they can't work that out, then they can't be allocatively efficient. The second question to ask is, do they want to maximise consumer satisfaction? As I said at the end of the last video, if you look at places like Cuba and North Korea, where the government are in control of providing services and products, other goods, are they actually doing this in the best interests of the people in that country or not? Possibly they aren't. Next thing we're going to look at is whether they are being dynamically efficient. Is it possible for the government to be innovative if they're providing all of the goods and services in an economy? Remember, dynamically efficient means that you are increasing your efficiency over time. Remember, dynamic means over time. Static means just looking at one point in time, but dynamic is over time. And this is saying that they will be innovative, they'll be dynamically efficient. If they were being efficient, they would be, for example, if they were being dynamically efficient, they would be removing X inefficiencies. That means they'd be cutting out any extra costs that they have which are unnecessary. So for example, if they are allowing everybody to have 4-hour tea breaks every day at work, if they got people not to do that, that would be cutting out X inefficiencies. If they were sending people always first class to fly to other countries to have meetings, and they then started sending them business class or doing video conferencing, that would cut out X inefficiencies. Overall, if you take out X inefficiencies, your long run average cost curve comes lower down on the diagram. However, would the government actually do this? Would they be trying to cut out X inefficiencies? You can say, yes, they would, to decrease costs, and the government might have an interest in doing that, but they have no profit motive and they have no competition if they're the only providers. Therefore, what incentive do they have to try and cut their long run average costs and bring the whole of the curve down to remove their X inefficiencies? It's very questionable. So this would be your evaluation here. The next thing is, are they going to be innovative? You could say that yes, they'll be innovative because they want to please consumers and maximise utility. They'll be wanting to produce products that people want and products that the people find they get a lot of benefit from. However, this is arguably quite unlikely because, again, they have no competition. They don't need to be getting consumers to move over to their products from another company because the government are providing everything. Also, they have no competition, but if they are making less profit because, for example, they're selling at a lower price because they're being allocatively, productively efficient, or if they aren't cutting costs as much, so therefore they're not making as much profit, this likely means that there'll be less research and development and less innovation. Again, if you were to look at what life is like for people living in North Korea and Cuba, they don't have huge choice in their shops. They don't have a lot of innovation. They don't have lots of research and development. There's limited choice and limited quality. Even if you look at the hospital service, how factories are, the type of equipment that they're using. And the argument here would be that actually the government providing everything actually leads to less innovation and less research and development. And also, going back to the general term of dynamic efficiency, they won't be cutting out these X inefficiencies. So that takes us to the end of looking at each of the productive, allocative, and dynamic efficiency. And then the final thing is just to give your conclusion. Overall, do you think that the government will be productively, allocatively, dynamically efficient if they are providing all of the goods and services within an economy? You could talk here as well in your conclusion about what this means. It says with the right controls and incentives in place. Who would be controlling what the government does, and what incentives would there be for these things to be satisfied? If they're not making large profits, they can't necessarily employ the best people to be making sure that they cut costs and that they have a lot of innovation. And who would be controlling this? Because the government are the ones who have control within an economy, arguably. Who else can actually police what they're doing? It's probably more likely that you're going to have more innovation, more cost cutting, more dynamic efficiency if you have capitalism and you don't have the government providing everything. And in your conclusion, you might want to make reference to perhaps North Korea or Cuba as real life examples for application about what actually happens in real life when the government provide all of the goods and services within an economy. And you want to say also that do the people who are in charge have the best interests of the people in the economy at their heart? Are they really trying to help the people in the country?